the verse. This is very Hare Krishna. Sorry, I think there is some technical issue. I think I dropped off. There is some power cut issues going on in my areas, so I think there is little disturbance. So what I was saying, so we are today starting the Isho invocation. So this verse is very melodious and it's very beautiful. So we will spend some time. So I think especially the intermediate devotee class, I think I want everyone to able to sing this verse very nicely. And then we actually look into word synonyms, translation, and purport. Let me share the screen. Okay. Can anyone able to see the shared screen now?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Thank you. So, Isho invocation. So I will actually recite the verse first, and you listen carefully, and then I think we'll get you, all of you, to actually sing the verse, and we'll practice the meter. And we expect that actually everyone should be able to memorize this verse, in a couple of weeks' times. So yeah, Isho invocation. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. So this is actually meter. We sing this verse. As I said, it's very, very melodious. And if you actually sing in this meter, it's very easy to memorize as well. So probably Divanshi Mataji, you want to start with that? Then we will actually first all the intermediate devotee class, and then Sanjay Prabhu, if you also want to join, you can join as well.
Yes, Prabhuji. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate.
Yes. Yeah. Sing a couple of times, Mataji. So it
Yes.
will
Prabhuji, can you sing one more time? I was trying to follow the tune, but
yeah, probably I will recite in between, so I think it will become easier. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णम् उदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. So, yeah, I think you just follow the actually this meter, and if you have the book, actually there is a Devanagari, it is in Devanagari, language. So I think if you read that, I think I found it easier. So some might actually like the English version, some people like Devanagari. So that's my best.
Should I recite again, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnam Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Vivashishyate. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnam Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Namadah. Should I start?
Yes. Yes, Mataji, you can sing.
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnam Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji. Who's there now? Mayuresh Prabhu. I can see Mayuresh Prabhu. Could you please sing now?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Hare Krishna, Mayuresh.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate.
Yes, yes. Sing slowly, Mayuresh Prabhu. So like Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. And when you sing, just pay attention to the alphabets where there is actually line on the top. Then you have to actually pronounce it. You put the emphasis. So
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah.
Yeah.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate.
Yes. Yeah. Continue, Prabhuji, a couple of times.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate.
Yes, thank you, Mayuresh Prabhu. Okay, who else is there? Parth Prabhu, is it possible for you to sing? Because I saw
Yes,
your
Prabhu.
message. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu. I can sing, Prabhu.
Yes. Okay.
So I'll just try singing. Okay. So just Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So I think, yeah, we should practice more and more in these verses. So every time, I think even next week as well, when we start, I think we will, all of us practice singing this verse. So the objective is that we all should actually memorize this verse by heart. Because I remember when we actually learned this verse, so Amrish Prabhu spent a lot of time, to make sure everyone able to actually pronounce it properly and can able to sing in that particular meter. And when you sing in that meter and you practice and more, it becomes very easy to memorize it. So whenever you get actually in a spare time, try to memorize it, try to sing it, and then also the translation as well with the verse. So it is easier to understand. So Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. So now we'll go through the word-to-word synonyms and translation. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki
Hare Krishna,
jai.
Prabhuji.
Yes.
If you don't mind, can I sing?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, thank you. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Madaya Purnameva Avashishyate. Thank you.
Yes, Sanjay Prabhu, you want to sing as well?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, also anyone from actually senior leaders class as well. Mataji's, Prabhuji's going to sing.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can I sing?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Om Purnamadaha Purnam Idam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnameva Vashishyate.
Thank you. Thank you. So we will go through now word-to-word synonyms and translation. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I need a volunteer reader. Anyone want to volunteer? Okay, Devansh Mataji. Yes, please.
Om, the complete whole. Purnam, perfectly complete. Adha, that. Purnam, perfectly complete. Idam, this phenomenal world. Purnat, from the all-perfect. Purnam, complete unit. Udachyate, is produced. Purnasya, of the complete whole. Purnam, complete all. Adaya, having been taken away. Purnam, the complete balance. eva, even, eva avashishyate, is remaining. The complete whole, perfectly complete, that perfectly complete, this phenomenal world from the all perfect, complete unit is produced. Of the complete whole, completely all having been taken away, the complete balance, even, is remaining.
Yes, thank you, Mataji. So this is, if you look, actually look at each line of this verse, the word Purnam, is used many times. So it's almost 7 times that word, repeats. And the way Srila Prabhupada translated it, we can actually focus on each word. Om here, Srila Prabhupada translate that as complete whole. But when you read the translation, I think it makes perfectly sense, how that has been the meaning. So translation, Mataji, yeah.
The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. And because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. And whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because he is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance.
Okay, one more time, Mataji.
The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. And because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because he is the complete whole, even though so many units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance.
Okay. Marish, you wanna please read the translation?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Translation. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as the phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because he is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance.
Okay. Parth Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Parth Prabhu. Can you hear us? Okay, I think he's okay. Soumya Mataji, I can see you now. Yeah, please read the translation.
The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. And because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because he is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. Sanjay Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. And because he is completely perfect, all animation, all animation from him, such as the phenomenal world, are completely equipped as complete without a complete whole. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is sorry, Prabhu, I'm having problem reading. Whole is also complete in itself, because he is the complete whole. Even though so many complete units emanates from him, he remains the complete complete balance. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Okay, I think we Hare Krishna Parth Prabhu, can you hear us?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes.
Yes.
Translation. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. And because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself, because he is the complete whole. Even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu. So I think, yeah. So translation here is also very beautiful. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. And because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as a complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. And because he is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. So it's very beautiful translation as well, and beautiful words. But before we actually go on to the purport, Srila Prabhupada has given it's wonderful purport, is very nicely structured as well. I think in each paragraph, Prabhupada has explained every aspect that is actually described, the absolute truth, the supreme absolute truth. So we will focus as we actually study the purport, but let's just focus on the translation here first, where it says that personality of Godhead, so is perfect and complete. So when we actually recite this verse and we read the word-to-word translations, the word-to-word synonyms and translation, so it sounds a bit impersonal, it's not directly referred to Krishna here. Here, Om, the complete whole. And Srila Prabhupada, actually, when you translate, actually, he said that personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. So, as we know, actually, the personality of Godhead, or the supreme absolute truth, if you read the purport, Prabhupada actually did not use word Krishna anyway. However, he's actually referred as a supreme absolute truth. And we know that Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. And the various aspects of the supreme absolute truth are actually discussed as well. So here he's saying that Krishna is perfect and complete. So as we know that Krishna is all self, he's self-sufficient, he's not dependent on anyone. In fact, we are all the creation, spiritual, material, everything is dependent on Krishna, So he's a complete in its himself, And next point, he says that because he's completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as a complete whole. So what does this mean? So I think for intermediate class, I think you must have actually read and studied this before you come. I would like to hear your realization, what you understand by this statement.
This statement that everything that emanates from the Supreme is complete also.
Yes.
Yes. We've discussed this like in other classes before with Avinash as well. And like the first example that comes to my mind with regards to this is of like a fruit, like how like that's something that occurs in nature naturally, and it's not it cannot be like, it's not man-made. It's something that's completely natural, and how it's so complete that the fruit itself has the seed for like for another fruit to start growing. Like it's a complete cycle. It's like the whole one fruit is completely kept by itself to keep reproducing. And it's like that's just like one very small example that immediately comes to my mind, that how everything in this like in this creation is complete as it is. Like nothing is incomplete because it has emanated from Krishna, because everything is working so smoothly and so perfectly in one piece, apart from the disruptions that human beings create. But yes, like that's the thought that comes to my mind.
Yes, yeah, very good example, Mataji, that is shared. Okay, let's hear from other intermediate class devotees. How about Prabhu? You you have any?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Prabhu, so very wonderful realization given by Adrianshi Mataji. I was thinking of that same example. It's a very famous one. But yeah. So, Prabhu, what another example that I could think of, like, first of all, what I understood from the verses of that whatever emanates from the absolute whole, which is in contradiction to what we read in maths, that the sum of parts is always equal to the absolute. But here, it's not the case. The parts are also absolutely perfect, completely whole, right? And so I used to have this question, Prabhu, that if things are perfectly complete in themselves, then like what does that mean? So I still have the question. Maybe after reading it, we can get more clarification. But eventually, the realization that I got was that completely whole means that they are completely complete in the nature of work that they are to do. For example, like a fruit, Mataji gave an example. It will give a tree, and the tree will give a fruit. But it does not mean that the tree will someday give gold or silver or something else apart from what it's designed to do. So it's whole in that sense that it will do fulfill its duty. So one example that I could think of is like Prabhu, like in management terms and in real world, people often want to create like for example, if there is a factory A and factory B, the raw material for factory A, if let's say factory A produces some waste, and that waste is the raw material for factory B, and the waste for factory B is the raw material for factory A. So these two factories are completely dependent, like self-dependent, and they can like work without anything else. But Prabhu, nobody is able to replicate the system in real life. But when we take the example of a tree which gives oxygen, and we who give carbon dioxide, this is a complete system in nature which nobody is able to reproduce. So in that sense, Prabhu, I think Krishna has designed this world like completely perfect, whole. Like it does not need anything else to sustain. So that is what I understood, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, very good realization, Prabhuji. Yeah, I think I also thought of these various examples, but I think you shared some of them. Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. How about Soumya Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, the Anshi Mataji and Parth Prabhu have already covered so much. Even that fruit example came to my mind. I think it has been discussed in some of our previous classes. So yes, Prabhuji, and like Parth Prabhu said, it is that what it happens in the material world is that everyone is trying to replicate this thing. Like they're trying to replicate what Krishna has already made in the nature. They're trying to increase the food, or they're trying to increase the longevity of the lifespan. They're just trying to make things different, and they're just trying to make everything permanent, like Krishna has naturally made. But they're not able to do that properly. Like Patu gave the example of the factories and all. But in nature, like even our human body, it is so perfectly made. But like obviously Krishna has designed that we will die, but it is according to Krishna. Like only Krishna is the person who emanates. We are souls and we have come from him, but he is still complete. And so yes, Prabhuji, I think is that only Krishna is able to do this thing, and everyone else, even though they are trying to copy him, they are not even closely able to even resemble what he has created.
Yes, yeah, That's true, Mataji. Yeah. Mahesh Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes, I think Devanshi Mataji and Parth Prabhu has covered the examples, Prabhu. And if you look at the life on Earth, and without the human intervention, it is very sustainable. It is very symbiotic relationship between the species. So we can see the whole system here, Prabhu. So everything is dependent on other species. The food chain is there, so ecology will sustain itself, Prabhu. The system does not need anything else from outside this planet. So it may need the light of sun, but still, it is a whole system. So we can see that everything that comes from Krishna is complete whole. And even if this material world is coming from Krishna, still Krishna is 100%. So when I read that, Prabhu, I remembered this conversation of Srila Prabhupada I read. So someone asked Srila Prabhupada that can Krishna create a like hill or something that he cannot lift? So Srila Prabhupada said, yes, he can create the hill, but as soon as he creates it, he will be able to lift the hill. So yes, he is complete, and even if we are coming from him, it does not mean that he's less. He's also 100%. We are also 100%. Yeah.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you, Mahesh Prabhu. Yeah, I think all of your understanding is very good. So here, as everybody actually said, that Krishna, personality of God is perfect and complete. So Krishna is perfect, everything that he creates is also perfect in itself. He's a perfect designer. And as it says that he's completely perfect, and all emanation from him, such as this phenomenal world, is also perfectly equipped as complete whole. So most of our realization actually that coming from what we saw, see things around us on this earth planet. But here says all emanations, everything that emanates from Krishna. And as we know that actually everything that exists is actually created by Krishna himself. In Bhagavad Gita, seed verse 10.8, it says that actually, Aham sarvasya prabho matha sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. So I am the source of all spiritual and material world. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts, right? So here is saying that everything emanating from him, this material world, this spiritual world, right? So everything that's emanating from Krishna is actually perfectly complete in itself. So there is nothing that we can see around is not actually created by somebody else. It's nothing independent of Krishna. And important point to understand that actually you shared very good examples. Even actually when you look into this earth planet only, the nature, how things are actually functioning, where there is no human actually intervention, especially. So if you look into forests, where there is no presence of the human, so there is a perfect ecosystem, how actually trees are growing, they bear the fruits. Then when fruits fall down, there is a seed. And actually when you think of a fruit, it's also designed in such a perfect way that is actually attracts other living entities, who can actually perform the function of actually dispersing these fruits, the seeds to the other places. So ensuring that their survival, or actually many other plant can grow. So if you look at the actually mango, so when we look at the mango, it's very tasty fruit, right? And there is actually seed within the mango. So actually above the seed, there is very actually tasty pulp that actually we're also very much attracted, So also the birds are also very much attracted. So those fruits are actually eaten and then later dispersed in the nature. And when the actually seed fall in a soil again, it again germinates. And Srila Prabhupada actually spoke on this point that who could be better designer, even if you look at the seed, that the whole tree of a mango is actually contained within that small, mango seed that we can see. It can actually grow up as a complete plant, and it can again bear fruits, and again those fruits, has a seed, and they can again become a plant. So that's actually one of the good example, that actually whatever is actually created by Krishna is very perfectly designed. Even when we look at ourselves, our human body. So most of you must have studied the physiology and anatomy, right? So when you look at the integrity of our own body, it is so complex, So it takes, for actually Soumya Mataji is now medical student, it takes 4 to 6 years to study the human physiology and anatomy and how that works. Even after 6 years, still we completely do not know how that actually exactly functions, right? And there are so many diseases that we actually, people get diseased by so many different conditions and all that. And when you look at actually the DNA, we actually, you're also, students that every cell in this body has a DNA and what we call as blueprint, and it has all the information for that actually you can actually develop that cell into the entire human body. So this is not actually happened by chance, somebody must have actually created, and the Krishna is the actual creator. And this is just one example. So the whole spiritual world, whole material world, anything that actually emanates from him is perfectly complete in itself. So Krishna is actually, he is perfectly complete. He's a perfect designer, and he's self-sufficient. He's not dependent on anyone. But I think important point to understand that we are also complete units, but we are not independent. Actually, we are dependent on Krishna. Okay, so Krishna actually created us. We are the part and parcel of Krishna, the spirit souls. But the purpose for which we are created, so our purpose is to actually serve, right? Serve the Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth. So when we engage in his devotional service, then we become a perfect unit. So our actually completeness is dependent on actually being dependent on Krishna. So there is actually, this important point actually, when we meditate. So we realize that Krishna is not dependent on anyone, but we are always dependent on Krishna, Krishna's mercy. So next point here, as we read the translation, whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. So we discussed that point. And because he's a complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. So, everything emanating from Krishna, and all of them are actually complete wholes in itself. Everything is there. So just like this Earth planet, so all these living entities here, all the plants, all the animals, beasts, birds, insects. So everyone actually, they're actually born here. They grow up, they spend entire their life and they die off. But whatever is needed for their survival is everything is provided on this Earth planet. I heard actually one of the Srila Prabhu's lecture where he actually explained that we do not have to actually go outside this planet to actually, we do not need anything for our survival. Everything is provided here by Krishna. And actually there is a complete arrangement here for everyone's survival. So even so many complete units are actually coming out of actually emanating from Krishna. Krishna remains the complete balance. There is, he does not become anything lesser. So that is actually the absolute truth. So in the material world, actually, we say 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, right? And we say 2 minus 1 is equal to 1. So it becomes less by 1. So that is mathematics, right? 2 minus 1 is 1. But when we look at this 2 minus 1 is equal to also 2. Krishna doesn't become anything lesser. Because I remember actually Amrish Prabhu explained this concept very nicely at that time. So the mathematics actually, how that works. But here, actually, even so many different units coming out of Krishna, Krishna doesn't become anything lesser. As Maharishi Prabhu also shared, Srila Prabhupada's realization there, that Krishna, he can actually lift any mountain, no matter how big is it. Now, even he can make a mountain that he even cannot lift. But Srila Prabhupada said, as soon as he created that big mountain that he cannot lift, he expand himself and he again lift it. So even Krishna, actually he expand, he do not know his own limits. So that's actually the very important point, that Krishna, actually he's a complete whole, and he actually creates so many complete whole, so many complete units are coming out of him, but he does not become anything lesser. He remains the complete balance. Okay. Any questions on this translation before we go on to the purport? Yes, I think I can see the Parth Prabhu has raised the hand. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So, Prabhu, my question is, when we say, Prabhu, perfect, so completely perfect, so we also read in Bhagavad Gita that this world is dukhalayam, right? So how can dukha be part of something that is perfect and complete?
Okay, very good question, Prabhuji. I think, I think it will come again in the purport as we read. Okay. So you're saying that there is so much misery in this material world, and how can we say this world is perfectly complete? Is that right? Did I understand that right?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu, absolutely.
So I think that point actually comes in a purport, where it's actually Srila Prabhupada says that actually all these living entities who are actually, we are born here as a spirit soul, we are also complete in ourselves. And this world that we born, this material world, so that is also actually perfectly designed and is a complete balance in itself. So first we need to understand the purpose for which we are created and the purpose for which this material world is created. So purpose is very important. So it is said that as long as if anything that is created is serving its purpose, then it becomes a perfectly complete, right? So here, actually, the reason we are born in the material world, so I think this point actually been discussed many times. So you must have actually heard that the reason we actually born in this material world, because as Srila Prabhupada, actually, I heard this in his lecture that we have revolted against Krishna. So at one stage, we are with actually Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the spiritual world. And we are serving him nicely at that time. But when this ego comes in, and when we think that me, I am also want to enjoy like a Krishna, I want to become like a Krishna. So it's just like child, insisting to his father or mother that I also want to enjoy like that. And even we have been told that no, we are just a spirit soul, small spirit soul. Even we are qualitatively similar to Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, but there is a big difference in terms of quantity, right? We are very actually minute. Actually, as we discussed that many times, that we are 1/10,000th part of a tip of a hair, and that is our actually spirit soul size. So there is a difference in terms of quantity. But when we actually want to enjoy like a Krishna, then that's why Srila Prabhupada said that we fall down, and that's why Krishna created this material world, so that we can actually take birth in this material world, and then it's like a playground for children. So we can actually play, and we try to actually. That's why everyone here actually who are born in material world, they want to enjoy their senses. But actually, the reason we are actually come into being, the reason we are created, the only sole purpose for us is to actually serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is the dharma of a spirit soul, to serve Krishna. And when we engage ourselves in the service of the Krishna, then we become happy. But when we do not accept this, we say, oh no, I want to become Krishna. I want to enjoy like a Krishna. Then we are not adhering, to our dharma. That's why we fall down. We have to take the birth in this material world. And the general tendency, Srila Prabhupada says, is material world, that when we born here, we want to enjoy our senses. Everybody want to enjoy their senses. And that's why we put a lot of effort. We work very hard. We actually earn a lot of money. And we try to create things to enjoy our senses, to the fullest. But this is all illusion. The reason this world is created, the reason we are created, the purpose is completely different, right? So we are supposed to serve Krishna. That is our purpose. And this material world is created to reform all these actually rebellion souls. So you must have heard this world is like a prison, right? So Durga Devi is in charge. Is one of the image of Krishna. Durga. So Durga is a Durg, it's like a fort. So it's like a prison, and we are all the prisoners within this material world. And the reason we are actually kept here in a conditioned state, so that we can actually realize that we do not belong here. This material world is a place of misery. Padam padam cha bipida. So actually, when we go through this, then we realize that we do not belong here. And there is no happiness in this material world. Everything is temporary. Everything is illusion. And when we realize that, and when we try to actually find out, and when we realize that we are the part and parcel of Krishna, and our only business is to serve Krishna, eternally. And that is actually where our actually perfection lies. And when we realize, then actually there is a process, as we know, that we cannot realize that on our own, dint of our own knowledge. We have to actually find out the spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master. And then we learn from him that what is our real position, who's Krishna, who's Supreme Absolute Truth, and what is my relationship. And when we understand this point, and when we follow the instruction of our spiritual master, and we engage in serving, our spiritual master and Krishna, then we actually realize that that is our real position. And by doing so, we become happy. So as long as actually, the purpose for which we are created, we actually serve that purpose, then we become happy. And the material world is created. I agree, there is a lot of misery in this material world. But actually, the purpose of that material world is created is to actually reform all this revolted, the rebellion, all the spirit souls. So is that answers your question, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu, very nicely. Prabhu, so basically what I could gather was so imperfectness is a part of the perfection of this world, or the
Yes.
completeness of this world, right?
Yeah, the purpose it is created to reform, all of us, because we have rebelled against Krishna. And we have to understand actually our real position. This world is not actually designed so that we can actually take birth and enjoy our senses. Is that answers your question, Prabhu, or is there any still?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I meditated on this point that actually, we suffer, quite a lot in this material world. Then how this material is called perfect and complete. But this is what I actually realize. Yeah, I think we got only now 7 more minutes to go. Probably Hare Krishna, Ambrish Prabhu. This is a very important question. Actually, try to answer it. Maybe Ambrish Prabhu can actually, able to answer this better because of my limited knowledge.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So what I could gather some bit of it. What was the actual question?
Yes, Ambrish Prabhu. Parth Prabhu asked the question that here we are discussing that the personality of God is perfect and complete, and all the emanation from him, they're also equipped as a complete whole. They are perfect in themselves. So Parth Prabhu asked the questions that we are born in this material world and we suffer quite a lot in this material world, and so many sufferings that we go through. Then how can we say this material world is perfectly complete?
Oh, what the good sufferings?
Yes, Prabhu.
Your sufferings?
Yes, Prabhu. Aren't we all?
No, I'm asking you. Don't worry about me.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Why are you putting on everybody? Don't be defensive. The moment we increase it, the numbers, they're in defensive now. Yeah. We all, anytime. So come home. When do I come to your home? Anytime you can come. That means never, you don't come at all. So, yeah, I heard, it's a good question. And I heard the answer also by Shital. So, very correct answer. Very nice answer. I would just like to share some points, some realizations that, yes, that answer is accurate with regards to material world is imperfect. Now, when you say that in this material world there's suffering, how can it be perfect? So you're saying that the perfect world, that is the spiritual world, there is no suffering? What do you think?
Prabhu, can you repeat that question? There was some echo.
I said, I think my phone is here. So I just say that in the material world there is suffering. So in the perfect world, there is no suffering.
Yes,
In the
Prabhu.
spiritual world, there is no suffering.
Yes, Prabhu. In the perfect world, there should be no suffering, because suffering is not something that I want.
So in this, no. Again, I want. Who are you to this life? I want. You're creating your own world, man. In my world, there is no suffering. Hooray! Vote for me. Path, Krishna. Right? Is it what it is?
No, Prabhu, not like that. But
Or you say, in the perfect world, I think there should be no suffering. Yeah.
because Prabhu, happiness and suffering are antonyms, right? So that is why I was thinking that.
We'll stick to this point. So in the spiritual world, there is no suffering.
Yes, Prabhu, there should not be, because we say na Vaikuntha without anxiety.
Yeah.
So,
There is no sorrow in spiritual world. There is nothing
yes, sir.
sad in the spiritual world.
Sad, Prabhu. No, Prabhu, I don't think there is
No, you
sadness
don't think
per
so?
se.
Well, in front of you, we have seen, you know about, you're born, you're very fortunate to be born in Indian body. And especially with the, any Indian body means with Christian or Muslim or people who follow the Sanatana Dharma. They all know some knowledge about Krishna and Ramas. When Lord Ram departed, his father died of the heart of happiness.
No, Prabhu, that was separation.
So was it sorrow? Was it happiness?
Yes, Prabhu, that was sorrow.
Very good. Similarly, when Krishna left Vrindavan to go to Mathura, and all the gopis stopped him, but he still went. Mother Yashoda died of separation. She couldn't survive. She just couldn't survive. She left her body. Was it out of sorrow or happiness?
Prabhu, again, same.
Sorrow.
Yes.
When the gopis were in separation of Krishna, they had stopped their eating, sleeping, and he was in Mathura. Then he went to Dwarka. That's why they went to meet him in Dwarka. Yeah. That's what Rath Yatra happened. No? I had mentioned to you the past time.
Yes,
Was it
Prabhu.
out of happiness or sorrow?
Sorrow, Prabhu.
So then now tell me, if the material, if certain sorrow exists in the spiritual world, then why cannot be existing in the material world?
Bro, we've discussed on this, and you've only told us that this Vipralamba Bhava, or this separation, mood of separation, we've read this in Nectar instructions only, bro. So this mood of separation, Prabhu, you said that I only asked this question, that there is sorrow, but that basis of sorrow, because it is separation of Krishna, God, that we are experiencing, then that is based in Anand only. You told us that that is based in bliss only.
So you got your answer. So that sorrow, is it sorrow? When Lord Ram's father, Maharaj Dashrath, left his body, when Lord Ram left for Ayodhya, for Vanvas, for his promise, for keeping his promise, and he couldn't bear it. So is that not complete? In the spiritual world, happiness is complete, sorrow is also complete, absolute. Sorrow is in relation to Krishna. You see? So when it is in relation to Krishna, separation from Krishna, that itself is complete. There is remembrance of Krishna. You understand this point?
Yes, yes.
So this is the absolute platform. Completely absolute platform. So your sorrow, the Krishna is not with me. How sorrowful that I'm not able to serve Krishna. You know, this is the point. It's a relationship with Krishna. So that's the reason why everything is an absolute platform. When Krishna steals, he's Makhan Chor, we worship him for it. Stealing. We discussed this, right? You steal something, let me come and steal something from your house. You will call the police. Once you will allow me, now Vishnu is a very senior devotee, what can I say? So go and tell Avinash Krishna. You know what? I can't tell you also. Keep quiet. Next time I come and steal something from you, you again be quiet. Third time you go and tell Avinash Krishna. You know what? He steals things. Fourth time you call the police. Yeah. But for him, it's not the case. For Krishna, is absolute. Yeah. You understand this point?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Absolutely.
Yeah. So nothing is in the spiritual world, material world, that is not existing in the spiritual world. The only difference is the quality. Here we are suffering because the bodily relationship exists. And we're suffering for the sorrow of the body. In the spiritual world, when there is no body, when the relationship is only with Krishna, the sorrow is about spirit soul, about Krishna. But in the material world, the body relationship, we are sorrowful. In every birth, we are sorrowful of so many of our parents, mother, father, uncle, auntie, son, daughter, cat, dog, bed, house, Apman, or ego, falsity. Everybody. This body dies, we're not worried about it. Next body comes in, we are again attached to the body. That is wrong. That is why your question is about that. And absoluteness means what? When it's not relation to the body, spirit, soul, it's absolute. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes. Now it's more clear. Yes.
Is your answer clear?
Yes, Prabhu. Absolutely.
Is it okay, Shital Prabhu? Was it all right?
Yes, Prabhuji, yes. Thank you very much for clarifying this point, Prabhuji, very nicely. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Sure.
I think we are gone over the 5 o'clock. I think this time to begin the next. So thank you, devotees. It's a very interactive class today. We will actually continue from the next Sunday. We'll jump into the purport. So please actually read the purport again and practice actually singing this verse. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Would you mind this disconnecting from YouTube, please? And I'll start this. Thank you. Can you do that?
No, Prabhuji, it doesn't allow me.
It doesn't allow your co-host? Still not allowing?
No, I can see only. There's no option that I can terminate anything.
Okay. Okay. What about you, Sanjay Prabhu? Are you there with us?
Yes, Prabhuji. I can see, yes, Prabhuji, I can see live on YouTube.
I'll make you co-host. Can you stop this, please?
Yes, Prabhuji, hold on.
1 minute. Make co-host. Your co-host now. If you can. Have you got the option?
It just says host live on YouTube. Let me
Can you
click on
disconnect
that.
YouTube? If the 3 dots, can you disconnect YouTube? Stop this, please.
Yes, Prabhuji, hold on.
1 minute.
It doesn't, no, it doesn't show that.
Co-host
Prabhuji.
now. If you can. Okay, I'll have to make you host then. And then you make me host again. Okay.
It just says host live on YouTube.
I'll make you host again. I'll make you host.
Let me click on that.
And then you make me host again. Okay. Is it all right?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji.
I'll make you host now, then you make me host. I'll make you host now.
It doesn't, no, it doesn't show that.
Okay, I'll have to make you host then. And then you make me host again. Okay.
It just says host.